Hello everybody, it's a beautiful day in Central Texas. Lately I've realized that I enjoy turning the odd shaped, out of balance, challenging pieces. The pieces that you really have to study and try to figure out if there really is anything inside that piece of wood. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy turning nicely prepared bowl blanks such as this one that I've taken all the way to the point of going to the bandsaw and rounding it out, which saves a lot of time in the roughing process. Here's another example of a rough bowl blank. This is in its roughest form. This is after you process it from the tree itself. This is a beautiful crotch piece of China berry. But let's go over to the lathe, and I've got a few pieces set out. Let's go look at the odd, out of balance shaped pieces that I'm talking about. So here are some examples of the pieces that I'm talking about as far as odd shaped, out of balance, difficult to mount up to the lathe. Here's a piece of sycamore that the middle is actually rotted out. And the only solid wood in this section right through here is actually a U shape because you have this opening right here. I saw some pictures of some turnings in the American Association of Woodturners magazine that has given me some ideas for this piece. And here are a couple other examples of pieces of wood that I've picked up. I believe this is an agarita root ball. Agarita is a real spiny plant that grows in South Texas. Here's another example of an odd shaped piece. I actually have an idea for this one of dishing this section out right in here and maybe doing just a little bit of turning out here and keep a wing on a small, kind of like a candy dish. And this one isn't quite as oddly shaped, even though it is an odd shape. This is an oak burl that has some rotting and hollowing in the middle, so I'm going to have to make this as the inside of the piece that I'm going to hollow out. What makes this kind of a challenge is the fact that it's not a perfect circle, and whoever harvested it has this cut right here. They cut it a little bit small. So those are some examples of the challenging pieces that I like to try to turn. So let's look at these pieces, see what we can figure out, see if we can get one mounted up and start doing some turning. Well, I decided to go with this piece of sycamore that's hollowed or rotted out in the middle. As you can see here, rotted out all the way through. I think this is the way I'm going to try to chuck it up and try to turn it. I took a 4-jaw chuck and removed 2 of the jaws. And these jaws kind of sandwich that very top in between them. And the majority of the holding is coming from the tailstock pushing this piece into this gap between the 4-jaw chucks. So I'm going to tighten the tailstock up really tight and put as much inward pressure as I can towards the headstock and start turning and see if I can put a little tenon on it. Okay, I've repositioned my tool rest over here, seeing how I'm going to be working on this area of the piece, trying to get a tenon established down here. I've moved my tool rest, manually rotate the piece to make sure the tool rest clears. I have the speed still at 400 and I am wearing my face shield, so let's get this turned on and see if we can't establish a tenon on this bottom. Alright, I just noticed a change in pitch on my lathe as far as the noise that these loose jaws, where the jaws are not, this is where they attach. Notice a change in pitch. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to look the piece over. I don't see any significant cracks forming. Oh, but it's gotten just a little bit loose. There's just a tiny wobble in it that wasn't there before. So I'm going to come over to my tailstock and I'm going to advance my tailstock quill a little further. Make sure it's still locked in place good. Yeah, as I'm starting to advance this a little bit, I can feel that there was some slack that had developed in here. As you're turning a piece of wood, you're compressing the fibers. So sometimes your tailstock will start to get a little bit loose. All you need to do is just kind of occasionally check it. And as it loosens up, you just need to make sure to retighten it. And that piece is very solid again. I would really like to be able to get the outside at least rough shaped before I flip it around and put it on the tenon. So just a little tidbit of information. If you hear a change in the way things are sounding, stop and look things over. If the sound changed, something had to change to make that sound change. So just a little tidbit of knowledge there. We've got the piece turned around in the 4-jaw chuck now, and I'm very confident with the tenon and how the chuck is going to hold the material. I have more confidence in that than I do the material staying together. So I'm not going to be using my tailstock right here. There's too much stuff that I need to be doing in this area. Tailstock would be in the way. Unfortunately, it's getting close to dinner time and I'm supposed to be grilling tonight. So I'm going to do just a little bit more work and then we might have to finish this up again in a day or two. So the tool rest's been moved. Manually rotate it, make sure you're clear. Alright, we're a couple of days later. I had to work yesterday, and what I've done is I've put this piece in a plastic bag and taped it up pretty tight, and that is an effort to keep this from warping and checking any on the couple of days that I haven't been able to get back to it. So let's open this up and see what the situation is underneath this plastic bag. Hopefully it hasn't warped too much and hopefully it has not checked. And right now, taking a quick look at it, it does not seem, maybe one little one starting right there. It doesn't seem to have checked much, if any, which is a great thing. And let's put the tool rest up here. And I'm going to hold my finger right next to it and manually rotate it and see if it has warped much. And my finger is very uniform all the way around, so truthfully it doesn't look like this has warped at all. So I'm going to sharpen up my gouge and we'll get back to doing some turning. Alright, making some good progress. I'm very satisfied with the finish all the way around, the shape, no tool marks. I don't see any scratches as far as sanding is concerned. I went all the way up through 400, and now I'm going to apply a couple of coats of the homemade sanding sealer. Once again, that's a 50-50 solution of lacquer and lacquer thinner. I'm just going to take an old cotton t-shirt that I've cut down into some smaller pieces and use this. That way I don't have to worry as much about the paper towel shredding and getting stuck in these bark inclusions. So let's take a look and see. This will also give us an idea kind of what the finished piece will look like. Not too bad. I don't know, we'll see if it works. It's an idea. I threw several rubber bands around it, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape them with some masking tape to just kind of hold them in their location, and maybe just as a little added insurance. Well, you can see I've made a little bit of progress with the hollowing, but it's just beating me up. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to set up that captured hollowing system for the first time and give it a try. Let me get that all set up and then we'll come back. Alright folks, I got the hollowing system set up for my very first time. I've done just maybe 30 seconds of cutting inside here. I don't know how well you can see, but it is amazing how uniform, smooth of a cut this thing creates. It's not a terribly complicated system, but it's a captured hollowing system, and it uses a light, or excuse me, a laser to show you your depth on your piece. You can see the laser light over here. Anyhow, this is pretty amazing. It's a game changer, and we'll get turning a little bit. Still turning about 650, 680, and yeah, this is a game changer. The way this system works is you use a gauge or a card to set up the distance that the laser is pointed from the tip of the cutting tool, and then you very gently, use just as the manufacturer says, fingertip pressure, work that cutter in very lightly, and just continue to pull it back until the laser disappears. Notice how the laser's gone now? So that tells me I'm at my depth. Okay, I've contoured the faceplate to match the contour of the top of the vessel, put some of the no-slip material that you get to put like in kitchen cabinets and that kind of stuff in here. And now I have repositioned it multiple times to get it running as straight and true as possible. And we're going to keep our fingers crossed. We're going to tighten up the tailstock just a little bit more. That's all the further I'm going to go, and we'll start this out real slow and bring it up to speed. You can still see it's got a little bit of wobble in it. We're just going to have to work with it the best we can. That's not good. Whew. No damage done though. Got my heart going pretty fast. Alright, I guess that's telling me the rest of this has to be done with sanding. Here is the finished piece. I'm very happy with it. The natural voids and openings in it made it a challenge to turn. Not only the outside, but also hollowing. And that's kind of what the subject of this video was. There's a good view of all the way through. That's kind of what the subject of this video was enjoying those odd-shaped, challenging pieces. And hopefully this shows you that just because a piece of wood doesn't look like it is turnable, or that there's not really a pretty piece inside it, hopefully this just goes to show that if you get creative and take some time and think about it, that you can turn out some beautiful pieces from those really odd, out of balance, misshaped pieces of wood. Thank you everyone for watching.